I have my sketchbook here. And what I want to start out by talking about is body mechanics and how we can optimize our setup in order to promote better results. So if I just leave this sketchbook in this orientation relative to me, it's positioned in portrait mode and not portrait mode, it's positioned in portrait orientation. And what I want to do is draw some straight lines. Now, if I leave it in this orientation, this is just me, by the way. This is a technique that I have. Notice kind of my wrist and my arm and my attempt to draw a straight line. If I can get the ink to flow. That's a fairly quick gesture. It only took about a second. I'm going to try and speed that up. This is not necessarily the worst position for me to be in, but now if I want to draw this way, I've kind of missed my dots. All of this is fine, and I would encourage everybody to practice in multiple ways. But the way that I like to think about drawing a line is to compare it to a golf swing, where I'm basically just trying to repeat the same swing over and over again, and I change the club and my aim direction to essentially change the ball flight. And so what I like to do is I like to set up my sketchbook in a way. Let's see, this is 30 degrees and this is 45 degrees. What I kind of view as my optimal angle is somewhere, I guess, about 30 degrees. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start close to my body and kind of push out. And what I want you to think about as you do this, everybody's a little bit different. The whole point here is to try and encourage you to find the optimal angle to have your paper as you draw. And draw construction lines. This is mainly for sitting down, you're trying to get something out of your head. You want to draw and you want to draw well. And so think about kind of this orientation as a way to set yourself up for success. I guess I've just rotated a little bit more, so I might be at 32 degrees, but I find that this is my optimal angle to draw a quick sketch gesture and a straight line. And so I'm just trying to hit the dots in my dotted Moleskine book. And if I was to draw a perpendicular line, then I'm going to rotate it back around like so. And this is a longer one, but still, and I'm not perfect, but that's okay. One of the things we're going to talk about in this series is perfection is certainly a goal to try and attain, but our goals ultimately are different than attaining perfection. These sketches and design are often a means to an end rather than an end in and of themselves. All right, so I've got some lines there. Now what I want you to try and do, again, kind of finding that optimal angle. I'm drawing just horizontal lines on my page. I want you to vary the stroke weight, so the line weight. So try and draw the lightest line you possibly can. This becomes increasingly difficult if you do have a sketchbook compared to just a loose sheet of paper. I prefer the sketchbook just because it serves as a journal and an archive for me. But you might notice, maybe you can pick up on it in the camera, that my sketchbook actually is kind of low. The page is really low right here. It jumps up, it kind of bows up a little bit, and then it bows down and then flattens out, and maybe right at the end it pops back up. And so that makes it somewhat more difficult. If I kept consistent pressure across this, then I'd make a darker, thicker line right in here than it would be over here. And so I'm adjusting some of that as I draw. And then try and get some medium line weight. Just practice. Let's fill up this entire page. And then as we approach the bottom, notice I move my page up. Not only is the angle helping me set myself up for success, but also the distance away from my body that these lines are. And so now I'm going to get back up here. And let's put a little bit heavier pressure. Ballpoint pens allow you to do this. I'm just going to continue and finish this. Well, I tell you what, let's put this to practice. Maybe down near the bottom. I've got a little bit of room down here. I'm going to draw two things. I'm going to show you basically how I use this in a very simplified manner. One is I'm going to sketch a square. Rotate my page. And let's see if I can get the right proportion. So there's a square. Now, that one was fairly simple. I started here and I worked my way around clockwise. Obviously, you could have just sketched the top and the bottom, kind of optimizing that angle, and then rotated it and sketched here and here. Now I'm going to draw a cube, and I'm going to do the same thing. I like to draw, when I draw a cube in perspective, I like to start with the leading edge, the edge that's closest to us, so I'm going to start with that. Then I'm going to rotate my page, thinking about what angle I want. I often go to the top right, and I'll sketch in a line. And then here, what I'm going to do, notice that that's still close to this 30-degree dotted line on my cutting mat. I'm going to push my sketchbook up and rotate it clockwise a little bit. And so if you can imagine this line going through here, what I'm really trying to do is to find that line, and by rotating it and keeping and drawing and repeating that golf swing, drawing that same stroke, I've added convergence, which we'll get to later, but that convergence can really help me when I'm trying to draw in perspective. Now I'm popping this back up. Let's find the proportion of that side. Then maybe I'll go to the bottom, a line there, push it up, rotate it, a line there, a line here. Each time I'm both repositioning and rotating each of these to somewhere close to that optimal angle. And so there's a cube. Each one of my lines basically was just a repeat of the same sketch gesture, but moving and rotating. So now I'm going to hatch this, and I'm going to do basically the same thing. When I hatch, I like to draw 3 or 4 lines and then push it up, again, finding that optimal angle. 2, 3, 4 for consistency, push it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, push it up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now I'm going to just add some heavier line weight using my ballpoint pen to add thicker, darker lines where I want to.